The cold wind howled outside the humans' bunker. It was late at night, and the planet's twin moons hung silently in the sky. The human, named Jace, sat near a small fire inside, warming his hands. He hadn't seen another soul for weeks. This part of the planet was quiet, forgotten, and dangerous. That's why he liked it. Then came the knock. Soft, hesitant, like someone too scared to knock louder. Jace froze. He slowly reached for his old plasma knife and moved toward the door. Nobody knocked out here. Not unless they were desperate or dangerous. He pressed a button. The metal door creaked open. A blast of freezing air hit his face, and with it, a figure. She stood in the snow, wrapped in torn cloth and shaking badly. She wasn't human. Her skin was a soft gray blue, glowing faintly in the dark. Her eyes were wide, wild, and filled with fear. She looked up at him. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "One meal, I'll warm your bed." Jace didn't speak. He just stared at her. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Thin, weak, barely standing. And yet, even in that state, she offered herself not because she wanted to, but because she didn't know what else to do. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back and opened the door wider. She hesitated, like she didn't believe him. Then she stepped inside. The warmth hit her like a wave. She almost fell, but Jace caught her arm and helped her sit near the fire. He handed her a metal bowl. Inside was leftover stew, thick with roots and meat. She stared at it like it was treasure. Then she dug in, not even using the spoon just. Her hands. Jace watched in silence. After a few minutes she slowed down. Her breathing softened. Her hands stopped shaking. She didn't look up. She just whispered again, almost like she was afraid of what came next. "I will warm your bed now." "No," Jace said finally. "Eat. Rest." She looked up at him, confused. "You're not here for that," he added. Tears filled her glowing eyes, but she blinked them away fast. She nodded and curled up near the fire, not on the bed, not even close, just in a corner like an animal unsure if it was allowed to stay. That night, she didn't sleep much. Every sound made her flinch. Jace saw the way her body tensed every time the wind hit the door. He didn't ask questions. He just placed another blanket near her and went to his bed. In the morning, she was still curled up in the same spot. Her face looked calmer, but her eyes stayed guarded. Jace cooked a simple breakfast. She sat up slowly, still unsure if she was allowed to touch anything. He handed her another bowl. She didn't thank him, but he didn't expect her to. She finally asked, "You don't want me?" "No." "Why?" "Because I'm not like them." She said nothing after that. But something changed in her eyes. Later, Jace noticed strange marks on her skin, thin scars running along her back. Not from battle, but from something else, something cruel. She caught him looking and pulled her shirt tighter. "Don't look." "I know I'm broken." He shook his head. "You're not broken." She gave a small, bitter laugh. "You're strange for a human." He didn't reply. He didn't need to. For the first time, someone had offered her safety without asking anything in return. For the first time, someone had seen her as more than just a body. As the day went on, Jace fixed up a second cot in the corner and placed a clean blanket on it. She watched him quietly. That night, before she slept, she whispered again, "Thank you." He didn't say anything. He just nodded once, then turned away. Outside, the wind screamed against the walls. But inside the bunker, something warm had started to grow, something even the cold couldn't kill. She didn't sleep like someone in a safe place. She slept with one eye half open, her hands always close to her chest, curled up like someone expecting to be kicked. When Jace woke up, in the morning, she was already awake, sitting quietly in the corner, her eyes fixed on the flickering fire. She hadn't moved much during the night, not even to cover herself fully with the blanket. Jace made some warm food and placed a bowl on the table. He didn't call her. He just left it there. A few minutes later, she slowly stood up, walked over and sat down. Her movements were cautious, like a wild animal that had learned pain comes with every step. As she ate, Jace noticed something that hadn't been clear the night before. Her arms, now more visible in the daylight, had small symbols carved into them. Not tattoos, not decoration. These were deep, cruel scars burned into her skin in rows, like someone had marked her to show she belonged to someone else. He didn't ask, but his eyes stayed on them longer than he should have. She noticed. "You want to know?" she said quietly, not looking up from the bowl. Jace nodded. "Only if you want to tell." She didn't speak for a while. Just finished her food, then placed the bowl down gently. She sat back, pulled her sleeves down, and finally whispered, "They called it the breeding pit. That's where I was made." His heart sank. He had heard rumors of places like that, dark labs on forgotten moons where alien girls were grown, not born. Raised to serve, sold like machines, and punished for disobedience. She went on, her voice low and without emotion. "They said I was special, not like the others, stronger, hotter, easier to train, so they started early. I fought once. They burned me. I stopped fighting." Jace clenched his jaw but said nothing. He didn't want to interrupt her. She had held this inside for too long. "They give us meals if we behave. If not, we go hungry. Some girls would sell their bodies just to eat. I didn't want to, but when I escaped, I was starving. I thought you would want the same." "I didn't," he said firmly. "I know. That's why I stayed." She looked at him now, really looked. Her eyes were large and glowing, but there was tiredness behind them. A life lived in fear. A soul that never knew kindness until now. Jace nodded toward her arms. "Do they still hurt?" "Not the skin," she said, "only the memory." He stood and walked to a metal box near the wall. From it, he pulled out a small bottle of healing salve and gently placed it beside her. "Use this," he said. "It won't erase the past, but it might help the skin." She touched the bottle gently, almost with fear. "Why are you being kind to me?" "Because someone should have been long ago." She turned away, wiping her eyes quickly, pretending she didn't cry. Later that day, Jace took her outside. It was still cold, but the sun was up and the wind wasn't strong. He showed her a small solar garden he had built, simple machines, growing food from the rocky soil. Her eyes lit up a little as she touched a green leaf for the first time. "You grow this?" she asked. "I try. It's alive," she whispered. "Not many things were where I came from." They stood together in silence for a while. Then she said something Jace didn't expect. "You're the first person who didn't touch me without asking. That makes you different." He looked at her and replied, "That should make me normal." She smiled a little. Just a small one. But it was real. And in that moment, he knew this girl wasn't just hungry for food. She was starving for something much deeper. Respect, peace, safety. Things no one had given her. But maybe now she'd start to believe they were possible. Offers shelter. She tries to escape. It was still dark when she opened her eyes. The fire was only embers now. Jace was asleep on his bed, turned away, breathing quietly. She sat up slowly, the blanket sliding off her shoulders. For a moment, she just watched him. Then her eyes darted to the door. She moved fast, but not fast enough to be loud. Quiet steps, careful hands. She reached the metal panel beside the door and stared at the buttons. Her fingers trembled. She didn't know how it worked. But she had to try. She pressed something, anything. A sharp beep echoed through the bunker. Jace was on his feet in seconds. She jumped back, eyes wide with terror. He didn't shout. He didn't grab her. He just stood there, staring at her, breathing. "Steady. I'm not your prisoner," she said quickly, panic in her voice. "I don't want to be owned again." "You're not," he said calmly. "I never locked the door." She looked confused. "You didn't?" He walked over, pressed a single button, and the door slid open. Cold wind rushed in. "You're free to go," he said, stepping aside. "I didn't bring you here to keep you." She stared at the open door, then at the wild, frozen world outside. Her bare feet took one step forward, then another. Then she stopped, something in her heart twisted. She had run before, many times, from cages, from collars, from cold hands and cruel voices. But this was different. She turned around slowly. "Why are you like this?" Jace shrugged. "I've seen too much wrong in this galaxy. I can't fix all of it, but I can stop being part of it." She walked back in, shut the door with her own hand, and leaned against it. Then something unexpected happened. Her knees gave out. Jace rushed forward, catching her before she hit the floor. She was burning hot now, her forehead slick with sweat. "You're sick," he muttered, carrying her gently to the bed. "I'm not used to full meals," she whispered. "My body doesn't remember how to handle kindness either." He placed her under the blankets, checked her pulse, and gave her water. She drank slowly, her hands weak. As she rested, she looked up at him. "Why didn't you stop me from leaving?" "Because trust has to be given freely," he said. "If you have to chain someone to stay, they'll never really stay." She stared at the ceiling. "Most men don't think like you. I'm not most men." Silence filled the room again. But this silence wasn't tense. It wasn't heavy. It was soft, like snow falling. Later, when she had enough strength to sit up, he handed her a small pair of boots. "For what?" she asked. "In case you ever want to leave again. I want you to walk with comfort." She held the boots like they were gold. Her hands shook slightly. "No one ever gave me shoes before, only chains." He didn't answer. He just returned to the stove and started making tea. Just then, a strange buzzing filled the room. A red light blinked near one of Jace's scanners. She noticed it before he did. Her whole body tensed. That sound. "I know it." Jace ran over, checking the display. A low-flying drone had passed over the area. Government model. Not from Earth. She was already backing toward the wall. "They found me." "Who?" "The ones who made me," she whispered. "The labs. The ones who sell us. They never stop looking." Jace turned off the scanner light and shut the metal shields over the windows. "Then we won't let them find you again." She looked at him, truly looked. "You'll fight them?" "I've fought worse," he said simply. She didn't understand. This man, he had no reason to protect her. No reward, no profit. But here he was, shutting his home to the cold, shielding her from the eyes of her past. For the first time since escaping, she didn't feel like prey. She felt like someone who had been found and chosen to be kept safe. And somewhere deep inside her, a thought began to grow. Maybe she didn't need to run anymore. Maybe, just maybe, she could stand *. The lab that marked her wasn't done yet. She stared at the salve bottle for a long time before finally touching it. The human had left it there. No words, no pressure. Just a quiet offer. She opened it slowly, dipped her fingers inside, and rubbed it across one of the long scars on her arm. It stung at first, then cooled. She took a breath, as if her skin remembered something it had forgotten. Relief. Jace didn't watch her while she did it. He was outside, checking his solar rig, giving her space like he always did. That puzzled her more than anything. He didn't ask questions. He didn't demand answers. But inside her, the answers were clawing their way up, screaming to be let out. When he came back inside, She was waiting. "I want to tell you," she said. He stopped, looked at her, gave a single nod. "I wasn't born," she began. "I was. Grown. In a lab. Not on a planet, on a station. Artificial womb. My batch had 10 others, girls. All of us designed for heat resistance, fast healing, soft features. You understand what that means?" Jace's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "We were made to be sold. They called us perfect companions, said we didn't need freedom, that it would only confuse us. The symbols on my back, those aren't. Just scars. They're tags. My serial number. My owner's mark." She lifted the back of her shirt slowly. Jace saw it. A brand that looked like 3 circles tied with a thorn-like shape. A lab crest. One he recognized. He had seen it during his time as a soldier in black market reports. But he never thought it was real. "I wasn't supposed to run," she said, "but I did. I fought the handler and broke his jaw. I crawled through a waste pipe to reach the lower dock. I stole a suit that didn't fit and escaped in a broken pod. I landed here. Alive, starving, half mad, and I thought I had to give myself to survive again." She looked at him now, her voice sharper. "But you didn't want anything. You didn't touch me. You gave me food, warmth. And that is why I'm afraid of you." He blinked. "Afraid of me? You're too kind. And kindness has always been the most dangerous lie." He looked down for a moment, then said quietly, "Then I'll let time prove it's not a lie." They sat in silence after that, broken only by the sound of wind outside and the soft hum of the bunker systems. Later, she helped him with some wiring repairs. Her hands were small but fast, and she understood technology like someone who'd spent years around it. "You were trained?" he asked. She nodded. "They teach us everything. Cooking, cleaning, fixing ships, even languages. They call it enhanced compatibility, but it's just slavery wrapped in sweet words." Suddenly, one of the console lights flashed red. "Power drop?" she asked. Jace moved closer. No, it wasn't power. It was a signal, a trace ping. Someone had locked onto her old pod's distress beacon. "They found me," she whispered. "No," Jace said, shutting off the console manually. "They've found this area, not you, not yet." Her hands clenched. "If they come, they won't ask. They'll kill you. Or, worse, they'll buy you. You're human. They might offer you a reward to return me." "Let them offer," Jace said without flinching. "Let them try." She stared at him. Something cracked inside her chest. A wall she'd built from the first day she learned how cruel the galaxy could be. She said softly, "I think I was made to survive, but you were made to protect." He gave a slight smile. "Maybe we were made to find each other." That night, she didn't curl up in the corner. She didn't offer herself. She didn't hide her scars. She simply laid on the second cot, warm and awake, listening to the wind, no longer afraid of the cold or what tomorrow might bring. But in the finge into the wind, but in the tingent is windmonger afraid of the cold or what tomorrow might bring, but in the tinging to the wizard a might seem Vadavan might know. Dark, deep above the skies, a ship changed direction, flying toward them. The lab wasn't finished with her yet. The sky cracked open at dawn. A silent shadow passed over the horizon, too smooth, too quiet for normal craft. Jace spotted it from the bunker's east window, a dull reflection slicing through the clouds. He didn't need confirmation. He already knew. "They're here," he said calmly. She froze, bowl in her hands halfway to her lips. Her eyes turned to ice, her body locked with fear. "It's them," she whispered. "The collectors." Jace nodded. "I count 3 landing. Signals, small drop pods. They're not here to talk." She was shaking now. "We have to run." "No," he said. "We prepare." For the first time, she saw something in his eyes, something that hadn't been there before. Not just kindness, not just calm, but fire. A soldier's fire. Jace walked to a sealed cabinet near the far wall and pulled it open. Dust flew up. Inside, ancient weapons rested in foam-old human tech from forgotten wars. A pulse rifle, 2 shock mines. A rusted exosuit that still hummed when touched dot. He started putting on the armor. "You fought before?" she asked. "I've seen more war than peace," he replied. "But I never fought for anything that mattered. Until now." She watched, stunned. She had thought of him as gentle, even soft. But now he stood tall, movement sharp and focused, like a blade unsheathed after years of silence. He wasn't a farmer. He wasn't just a kind man. He was dangerous. And this time he would be dangerous for her. "Hide in the lower tunnel," he said. "If I don't return in 20 minutes. "No," she interrupted, stepping forward. "I'm not running again." He looked at her, surprised. "You gave me back my name, my strength. I won't throw it away by crawling into a hole." Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't flinch. The girl who once whispered for food now stood tall beside him. Jace nodded slowly. "Then stay close. And when I say move, move." The ship above them dropped 3 small pods. They hit the ground without sound, unfolding like metal flowers. 3 figures stepped out tall, armored, not fully human. Their bodies were mechanical blends of flesh and tech. Blank faces. Branding marks. Cold precision. Jace stepped out first, gun lowered but ready. He raised one hand in a mock greeting. "Didn't expect visitors," he called out. The lead collector stepped forward. "We seek stolen property. Female, gray-blue skin. Identifying mark 041K12. She stood in the doorway behind Jace. "I'm not property." All 3 collectors turned at once. "She's come willingly," Jace said. "You leave now." She was grown by Gentech authority. "You have no rights under cross-species law." Jace raised his weapon. "I'm not here for legal debates." One of the collectors moved, fast. But Jace was faster that his shot lit the sky blue. Fire lancing through the air, hitting the left collector in the chest. The machine man flew back and crashed into a rock wall. Chaos followed. The girl ducked behind cover, grabbing a metal pipe from the bunker. Not a weapon, but enough. Jace moved like lightning, firing clean bursts, cutting through the second collector's shielding. But the third reached the doorway reached her. She didn't scream. She swung the pipe hard, striking its faceplate. It cracked, sparks flying. The machine slammed her into the wall, but she didn't fall. She grabbed its exposed wires and yanked out. The machine sparked again, then froze. She fell to her knees, panting. Behind her, Jace finished the last one. He ran to her side, helping her up. Blood stained her lip, but she smiled through it. "You didn't freeze," he said. "I told you." No more running. The sun was rising now, casting golden light over the smoking remains of the collectors. The wind carried the scent of fire, metal, and freedom. He helped her inside. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. That night, he patched her wounds. She didn't flinch. She let him touch her, not as an owner, not as a man demanding warmth, but as someone who had earned her trust. "You could have left me," she whispered. "You were never a thing to leave," he replied. Outside, the last collector's body blinked one final signal to the stars before shutting down forever. But somewhere deep in space, the message had been received, and more were coming. She chose to stay and stand beside him. The next morning, the bunker was quiet but not broken. Smoke still lingered in the wind, and pieces of shattered metal lay scattered across the rocks. Yet inside, something had shifted. The fear that once ruled her movements was gone. She walked with steady steps now, head held higher. Her back still ached from the fight, but she wore the bruises like medals. Jace was outside, repairing one of the damaged solar panels. She joined him silently, handing him tools before he even asked. "You sleep at all?" he asked. "A few hours," she said. "I had dreams, but they weren't bad. They were loud and full of light. I saw myself fighting, not just running." He smiled. Maybe that was real. She looked out across the hills. "They'll send more." "I know," he said. "But we won't be here." She turned sharply. "We're leaving?" Jace nodded. "There are others out there, more like you. Still trapped, still branded. I think it's time we stop hiding and start helping." Her breath caught. "You want to save them?" "No," he said. "We will." She blinked. "You want me with you?" "I don't want you behind me," he said. "I want you beside me." She didn't reply right away. For so long she had been used, passed around, sold like meat, then fed scraps of mercy she was supposed to pay for with her body. Now, this human man was offering her something she never imagined: equality. A shared fight, a shared mission. They packed what little they had: tools, gear, a few rations. The ship Jace had hidden under a camo tarp deep in the canyon was old but functional. She helped him repair the fuel line, using her small hands to reach inside spaces he couldn't dot as they worked together. She asked, "Do you really think we can stop them?" "No," he answered. "Not all of them, not at once. But we can. Start something, a fire, a message." She smiled at that. "You know what I used to think warmth meant? A body beside mine. A trade for food, a lie. And now?" He asked Dot. She reached for his hand, held it. "Now I think warmth is this, doing something that matters, with someone who sees me." That night, they left the planet. From space, the world they had fought on looked small, cold, forgotten, but it had given birth to something big. Their journey took them to old rebel hideouts, silent satellite stations, and border moons where whispered stories still traveled like ghosts. Each place held clues: girls in hiding, labs relocated, names on bounty lists. She listened. She learned. She trained Dot. In time, she became more than a survivor. She became a force. Jace showed her how to fly. She showed him how to crack encrypted data from the labs. Together, they made a list of targets. Together they made plans. One night, after weeks of chasing shadows, they landed on a jungle moon. A distress signal had pinged. Another girl, alone, hiding in an abandoned cave. She was bruised, terrified, and no older than 12. The girl saw Jace and backed away until she saw the alien woman behind him. She stepped forward, slowly, gently. She knelt in front of the child and held out her hand. "You're safe now," she said. "We don't take from you. We give you back what they stole." And the girl ran into her arms, sobbing. Later, as they watched the child sleep inside the ship, Jace turned to her. "You saved her." She shook her head. "No, we did." And for the first time, she felt something stronger than hunger, stronger than fear. She felt purpose. She wasn't just alive. She was becoming something dangerous to those who had created her. She was becoming free. Asterisk from hunger to hope, and the knock that started it all again. Months passed. Then a full year. The stars they once feared had become familiar. The galaxies that had once sold girls like her now trembled at the whisper of her name. She had no birth certificate, no official file, no recorded past. But she had something stronger, a reputation. People began calling her the Flame. She didn't know why until someone told her. Because when you show up, the cold places start to burn. She had helped free dozens now, girls like her, grown in tanks and cages, trained to serve, bred to obey. They came in all shapes, sizes, colors, but every one of them carried the same haunted look in their eyes, until she reached them. And every time one was saved, she remembered that first night. The cold wind, the knock, the fire, the bowl of food. The human who said nothing and expected nothing. She remembered what warmth had really meant. Now, their ship had landed back on a quiet world. Not the same bunker, another one. A new safe house. Jace had built with his own hands. Steel walls, underground tunnels, food supplies, and quiet fields above. This was not a place to run from. It was a place to run to. That night, she stood outside, looking at the stars. The child they rescued on the jungle moon was inside, sleeping peacefully. 3 other rescued girls had made dinner and were laughing in the other room. She didn't laugh often, but tonight, she smiled. Jace joined her, his arm brushing against hers, casual, easy, familiar. "You ever think," she asked softly, "that all of this started with one knock?" He nodded. "One knock. One choice, one bowl of soup. And no demand." She added, "You didn't even ask my name. I didn't need it. I saw who you were." She took a deep breath. The cold didn't bother her anymore. "You gave me more than food, Jace," she whispered. "You gave me the chance to become me." They stood in silence until a knock. Both froze. Soft, familiar, hesitant. Jace glanced at her. She was all ready. Moving. At the door stood a new girl, tall, green-skinned, eyes wide with terror, barefoot, thin, shivering. The girl spoke in a small voice, trembling. "Please, one meal. I'll warm your bed." The alien woman stepped forward, placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, looked into her eyes. "No one wants your body here," she said. "We want your life back." The girl began to cry, and once again a forgotten spark had found fire. She led the girl inside, wrapped her in a blanket, and handed her a warm bowl of soup just like she once received. And in that moment, the circle was complete. She had been born in darkness, bred in chains, sold for warmth, but now she gave warmth without cost. Not because of who she had been made to be, but because of who she had chosen to become. And behind her, Jace whispered the same words he had spoken that very first night. "You're safe now. Rest."